A, B, C. A always be B, C closing. Always be closing. We've heard it before, and Alec Baldwin and Glenn Ross made it even more famous. But is that concept, along with other antiquated approaches, really how you choose to sell? Let's have ourselves a pocket sized pep talk because today's guest says tactics like these need to be retired, and she's here to freshen things up a bit.
A Pocket Sized Pep Talk, the podcast that can help energize your business and your life with a quick, inspiring message. Now, here's your host, Rob Jollis.
Today's guest, Stacey Hall, has coached thousands of entrepreneurs on how to attract sales, satisfaction, and success. She's a best-selling author, a TEDx presenter, and a leading social media marketing expert. She's founder of Success with Stacey Hall, and her new book is Selling from Your Comfort Zone, The Power of Alignment Marketing. BK's the publisher, my favorite publisher, and she's here to talk to us today. Glad to have you with us here, Stacey. Welcome to the show.
It is a great honor to be in your studio. If you only knew how long I've wanted to be, you would know what a fan I am.
Well, thank you. I thought I heard something outside in the bushes there. So now, now we got that settled. That was up to the dog to figure out. But okay, so now I know why the bushes have been rustling. Well, let's have ourselves a great show. And with you, I was thinking, because I talk to a lot of people, but I really love to talk to people who have some fresh ideas about sales. So I thought maybe we'd start with a little game. And here's the game. I want your best antiquated, old school move that needs to be retired. But then I want one more that maybe we can keep around. So let's start with, boy, if I could retire one, Rob, it would be this one.
It is the script. The script and truly right with it, overcoming objections, because that's why we have a script. The script teaches us to overcome those objections. Instead, if you want to know more why I want that retired, I'll tell you in a bit, but here's what we replace it with. Listening, like novel concept. We've heard this, that we're supposed to
What's that again? Listening
after we ask our prospects or those customers and clients that have already joined us, what's up in their world? What's going on with them? What's important to them today? What are they trying to fix? Whether you can have the solution or not, what is causing them difficulty? Why don't we start there and let them tell us what is the challenge they're facing? Because maybe as a friend, like we're supposed to be, right? Building relationship, maybe we might have the solution, or maybe we know somebody who has a solution and we can make their life better. And we've just proven we have empathy, because don't we hear that word all the time? We're supposed to have empathy.
Yep.
Well, let's show empathy. So I can just go on and on with you. And
no, you did well. I'm with you on that one. And I wrote a piece recently called Connect the Dots. Because everyone thinks, well, I want to talk about benefits and features. It's like, no. It all starts back with those challenges. And those challenges shape the needs, and the needs shape the solution, and the solution shapes those features and benefits. So I'm glad you came right out of the gate with really the foundation of the conversation, which is, and can't always be the first question, but at some point we're going to have to get towards those challenges. So backpedal a little bit. You're not going to get an argument from me, but backpedal to the scripts, because we still see them out there. And that was the one you said, Rob, if I got to pull one, I want to pull that one. So we're pulling it. What could you replace it with?
It's, again, not being prepared for, if we're going to be prepared for anything, let's be prepared for people to say yes to us. And that doesn't mean showing up as cocky at all. It's not, it is only confidence that if I'm actually talking to somebody who needs what I'm selling, then I know how to describe what the product or the service does to fix that problem. That's why I'm saying, let's find out what problems they think they have, not assume for them we know better than they know about their life or about their business, which is exactly what salespeople have been taught for all these eons. Go in, take control of the conversation, because if you don't take control of it, they'll take control of you. Why does there
Wow.
have to be control in the space at all?
Yeah, it's funny, Stacey. I've always lived by the belief that the more the other person talks, the more they like you. So why are we manhandling the conversation and fooling ourselves into believing that control means I'm the one who's talking? The one who's talking, I worked when I was at Xerox. I got to tutor under this guy named Robert Mitchell. He's no longer with us, but 25 years as the lead negotiator for the Teamsters. This guy knew his way around. And I remember we were watching a negotiation at one point, he whispered in my ear and he said, remember, Rob, the one who's talking is usually the one who's losing. And it's not that I want to, that we've got winners and losers, but you talk about a 180 and a misconception of you want to win, you want to be in control, be quiet. That's the one who's in control.
100%, 100%, 100%. And I love that you brought this up. I could leap through the microphone and kiss you on both cheeks. It goes back to, and I say this in the book, and I give credit to both Theodore Roosevelt and to Maya Angelou and anyone else right here who thinks they came up with it first. Nobody frigging cares how much we know. They only want to know how much we care, not how much we care about our product, not how much we care about making the sale. They want to know, do we care what they're dealing with right now?
Right. And do we feel it?
And do we feel it? Because that's what's going on between their ears.
Yeah.
Why don't we just get smart? Like, it's smart to ask, how's your day going? Are there any issues you're dealing with that are on your mind right now? I'm asking not to get inside your head, but because I might be able to come up with a solution. Why struggle if you tell me I might be able to help?
Absolutely.
Why not start a conversation like that with somebody brand new?
Yeah. Yeah. Stacey, at one point in my career, I really think I worked with over 25 different banks nationally. I got so used to working with the banks, I honestly could walk in and I could tell them more about their bank than they could tell me before the first question. And I think for a little bit, I may have carried that arrogance. And I really believe people were thinking, that's good. This guy is very smart. We're never going to do any business with him. And he's obnoxious, but he's very smart about banks. It doesn't matter whether you know the answer to your question. You want the customer, the client, the prospect to get at that answer. And that's, I refer to it as the Starbucks effect. These are the conversations we have at Starbucks. Don't you want to have that with your customer? 50-50, folks, 50-50. Right? All right, let's dive into
I
your
love
book.
that.
Yeah, let's dive into your book a little bit.
Okay.
Selling from your comfort zone. Okay. Everyone says it's important to get out of your comfort zone to be successful. That's the normal way of thinking, but not Stacey. Stacey says it's important to stay in your comfort zone. All right, you got the floor. Defend that one.
Okay, well, first I have to ask, are you saying I'm not normal?
On that one, you're not normal, but welcome to the party.
That's okay.
You're like part
All
of the
right, well,
club now. It's
I'm
good.
in good company here, but no, I'm not normal. I am not the normal person.
Okay.
Okay, here's the thing. We know that sales is human interaction connection. Everybody will agree with that. Everybody will agree that we're also all unique in our own way. And everyone would agree who's in sales that it's psychology plays a huge part. Now, if we know that, then let's look at psychology. Psychology says that if we attempt to get out of our comfort zone, there's many, many, many research studies on this. It produces, for the vast majority of people, fight or flight. It produces anxiety. It does not. Nobody, if you say to somebody, when you got out of your comfort zone at the beginning, did you feel confident? Oh, no. But once I finally learned how, okay, but did you really want to learn how to do that? If they say yes, I'll say, well, then all you did is expand your comfort zone. But most people go, no, I didn't. But I'm glad I did. It was a growth experience. Okay, are you doing anything with it now? Well, no. And truly, Rob, these are the conversations. So it's ridiculous. It supports this concept of the studies that say, when you tell somebody they need to get out of their comfort zone rather than expand it, they go into fight or flight. Now, there is a certain percentage of human population, and I use the metaphor of a bull on this, that you say no to them, it's like a bull seeing red. They'll go at it and they will keep pushing and pushing and be aggressive and assertive until they get their way.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean they will get continuous sales. They may get one sale just because they wore the person down. The vast majority of human population of salespeople says, I don't know what to do. I want to treat people the way I want to be treated. I don't want to be pushed out. I don't want to be spammed. I don't know. No one's teaching me another way. You're telling me my way of doing things is wrong, but the only other way is to be pushy. And that is why so many people leave the sales profession, leave network marketing, because it's all sales. Okay. Like maybe you get away with it in corporate a little bit, but in network marketing, if you're not selling for the company, no one's bringing any money at all. So they leave and they go back to jobs that they left originally, feeling deflated, feeling badly about themselves. So nobody wants to face the fear if it isn't in their best interest and what they say is their best interest, not what someone else says, to face that fear and do it anyway.
Right.
And I'm just going to rely back on all the studies I put in the book that prove this point.
Yeah, well, you proved it very well. And actually, you touched on something that's really important to me, which is it is one of the reasons why we lose talented people early is because, and I don't always refer to it as a comfort zone, but I refer to it as style. So somebody
Yes.
comes in to sell, and let's say they're a bit introverted and maybe not terribly funny, and humor just doesn't come naturally to them. We both know as speakers that humor doesn't come naturally to you. I've got 34 other things that will make you very interesting in front of a room of people that has nothing to do with humor. So what scares me is I think we have salespeople that they misread this and they think, well, I have to use some of these things that don't fit into my style. So I'm going to have to be a little bit louder and bigger. And so they're now, not only are they saddled with a script in their left hand, they've been sitting at the heels of a mentor who couldn't separate style from technique. So they're trying to emulate things that they're not. And they go running for the exits because they go, well, this must not be for me. What they need to hear is that there are so many very successful, not just salespeople, but entrepreneurs and leaders and CEOs who don't possess those attributes that Alec Baldwin may have possessed in Glengarry Glen Ross, and will sell the shoes right off your feet. They're very good because they've committed to who they are. And so I'm pulling that from that comfort zone of stay within your comfort zone. Don't worry about, but the number one guy is, he's hysterical. Good. That's it. That works for him or her. So I like that. And I think we have to keep pressing that button and reminding people of that because it circles back to your point. That's why we lose good people.
100%. The book could be called Selling from Your Style. In fact, where were you when we were naming the book? Although I will tell you that it was voted on and it got the most number of votes, but it's exactly the same.
Right.
Selling from your style, selling from your core values, staying true to who you are. That is the place where you draw your power when you're confident in you and what makes you unique.
Yeah.
And you have a sales manager, sales trainer, okay, who encourages you to be more of yourself. That's what you'll do. You'll go out and meet people who are like you, that you feel comfortable with. They feel comfortable with you. It's what happens at parties, right?
Yeah.
And I always like to think of, we're using social media more now to meet people for the first time. Well, it's very similar to being at a party. Maybe you knew the host greets you at the door, and then the host goes off to talk to other people. Now you're left on your own. Like, who am I going to talk to? And maybe you make your way over to the punch bowl, I usually say, to get some food. And you figure if anybody comes over there, then you'll start a chat. And you will. It's just like, oh, the cheesecake was really good. You're not immediately pulling out your business card and saying, hi, thanks for coming into my space, right? You're
Right.
doing a little chit chat to find out, can we move this into a conversation that has
Right.
some meaning? There's
Right.
wonderful ways, and I share those ways in my book, Selling from Your Comfort Zone, so as not to confuse anybody.
Right.
Selling from Your Comfort Zone, how to start those conversations up.
Barrett Kohler came out in July, I believe. I've been studying
Yes.
up on you. You know,
Yes.
yeah, we'll touch on this and we'll move on. I sometimes tell people no one does a better imitation of you than you.
Oh,
So you
yes.
stay with you. And the reason why, and I'm not beating up on all the sales managers, I was one too, but I was lucky. I was taught by Xerox, a very process driven company. You know, what if I don't have a script? What do I do? You have a process. You have
Yes.
something that's repeatable and predictable, that is not a straitjacket, that allows people to expand and contract and just follow a trail. But stop being afraid that you don't have a way of measuring what the person's doing. If you have a process, you have a way of measuring what they're doing. And if you can measure it, you can fix it. So let's not panic here. We'll let people be themselves. We'll reinforce that. Managers, anybody who wants to, trainers, if you want to help, think of some really nice processes. And whatever you do, make sure that you remind them about once every 10 minutes, not a straitjacket, just a process. That's all. And we'll all win. All
Right.
right.
And their skills, the strengths of their skills that fit in that process. But most importantly, Rob, if we still
Yeah.
have time, I do want to put this out here to all the people who hire salespeople. Don't think you can fix them or make them into something. That's like a fiance thinking after you're married, you're going to be able to have the spouse you really want. It's not going to happen that way.
Right.
In this day and age, we must ask the question, what do you feel is your calling and your purpose in life? It doesn't get asked.
Yeah.
Okay. It is not right. It is not something that can get people in trouble, I don't think, with compliance. But you can ask somebody, what are you up to in the world? What are the most important things in the world to you? Outside of business, where do you see your life going? Not where do you see your career going? Where do you see your life going? In those questions, you can hear whether somebody is going to have a connection to the product or service that you want them to sell.
Yeah. Yeah. You
And
can
then
learn a
that would
lot.
be the next question
Yeah.
is, what is the connection?
Yeah. I have one of my favorites and it fits in there. Now, it doesn't necessarily fit with dominant people. So remember, folks, we just made this point about staying in your comfort zone and, appreciating your style. So you're hearing some style remarks here, but I've always loved, everybody has a story. Stacey, I'd love to
Yes.
hear yours. And you can sit back for 5 minutes now. You're going to learn about personality. You're going to learn so much about that individual by just letting go of the reins and widening those probes up and let them talk. And if they're dominant, you'll know it. If they're social, you'll know it. If they're analytical, you'll know it. You'll be able to figure out where they are in their buying cycles. Just be quiet, take a seat, and widen those early probes up. You'll get at the kind of information that Stacey and I are talking about. All right. Now, it's funny you said, Rob, I have to hurry up. You're not going anywhere. I got a few more questions for you. Settle
Okay,
down
good.
there. All right. you say in the book that there are 3 steps, because now we're on process, and I love process. We kicked the script to the curb, thank goodness. Now we're on process, and as soon as I see steps, 3 steps that a salesperson has to take before they can expect somebody to say yes, at least more often. I want to see you sprint now. So about 30, 40 seconds on each. See if you can nip each one and just give us a taste of those 3 steps.
They're so simple. So let's go, right?
Yeah.
The first is we have to get to know somebody. That's called building your audience or filling your pipeline. The first step is not selling. It's identifying who you want to know and who's likely to want to know you. There you go. Know your audience. The second is engage with the audience. I love what you just said. Why not ask a prospect exactly what you said? Everybody has a story. I'd love to hear your story before I tell you mine, right? Engage, find the points of connection, of alignment. Let them tell you what they're up to, and then you can share. You know what? I love that too. Genuinely, we're not making it up. It's got to be genuine. And in the process of engagement, the natural process leads to trust. The more we have fun with somebody, the more we appreciate them, the more they have respect for us and us for them, trust naturally starts showing up in the space. And that's what we mean when we say you can make a suggestion, you don't have to sell, and people will buy from a suggestion. Many salespeople never get to that point. They're like, I have no idea what you're talking about. I'm suggesting. No, a friend is able to make suggestions. A friend will say, have you seen that movie? You really got to go see that movie. And the other person will go, okay, I'm going to schedule time to go Saturday. Just that fast. Mm-hmm. A friend can say, you're telling me that your department is being slowed down because your copier keeps breaking. Have you thought about moving to one of our newer copiers? Because we also found that the older ones, while they were better than the ones before, we've been able to improve them. Would you like to know how? And the person's going to say, yeah, you just told me that there's a reason my department is having all these problems with the copier. Tell me why it's better, and then let's figure out if we can afford it. It's pretty simple. You don't sell till there's trust in place.
Absolutely. It's funny. We built a model when I was at Xerox. It had 22 steps in it and a process. And the only thing I'm ashamed to say is that we never really addressed trust, because we all looked at each other and went, people know how to create trust, but they don't know how to create urgency. They don't know how to create. And so we went at the shinier items in the room. When we were done, we realized that if you can't establish trust, the rest of the 15 and a half hours of the 16-hour program are not going to be a whole lot of use, because everything becomes anemic. It all starts with trust. And although it's hard to process trust, there's certainly some key behaviors, and we're talking about them right now. Just getting out of the way, letting the person talk, really actively listening. Don't be obsessed with your next question. Stay in there and listen to the answers to the questions you're getting. And Stacey, you said something, and I will tell you that I wrote a piece one time, and I said the two biggest words, most important words in selling to me, are the words "you said." Because if we do what you're telling us to do, and if we open it up and let somebody talk and lead them through questions, when there is a time for a solution, as you just said, we can say, and Stacey, another reason why I think this might be a good fit here is you had said earlier that when the copier or whatever it is, and so what we do, maybe not all conversations take place in just one call. We may be stringing 2 or 3 or 4 conversations over a month or two. You want to bring a prospect back into the conversation, mention to them that at the previous meeting, you had told me that, because you'll see them physically lean in and go, what did I tell you? What did I tell you? So let's remind ourselves to use the client's words, not your words. Use exactly the way they said it, not the way you say it in your business, the way they said it.
The way they said it. Rob, I'm getting so excited here that you just said, say it the way they said it. Mm-hmm. What we're both talking about is what's called the echo effect. Again, a psychological term. Not that sounds like a thriller, but I'm saying psychological studies tell us over and over again, use the exact words that came out of the person's mouth. When you say, I understand what you say, or this is what I heard you say, X, that proves that you heard them, that they're being acknowledged, and you're not attempting to tell them you know better than them. And so I love that you brought that up.
Did you ever see the movie Analyze This?
Yes.
There's a wonderful scene where Robert De Niro is sitting down for the first time with a therapist, Billy Crystal, and Billy Crystal says, he's explaining, Robert De Niro's explaining his issue, and Billy Crystal says, oh, you're having a panic attack. And he said, who said panic? Who said panic? He goes, dizzy, chest breathing, constricting attacks. He goes, yeah, well, what can I do about it? And it settles down. I always love that clip of that's why we use the customer's language and not our language.
Yes,
And so you might want to
love
grab
it.
that clip sometime.
Well,
It'll remind people why we do it. All right, we're coming down the home stretch. Let's talk about reputation.
yes.
We both have an affinity for salespeople. This is something, a profession I love. I love the people in it. I love the audiences. And you're writing about, and this is your audience too. And yet they don't get the best reputation. Why? And what can we do about it?
Well, studies prove no. That I mean, I think salespeople are right up there with lawyers.
Oh
Unfortunately,
no, lawyers are lower on the totem pole. I can tell you that.
okay,
We're
so
number
not up
two.
there,
Lawyers are
down
number
lower,
one.
down
Yeah.
in there. No, the studies of HubSpot came out with a very famous study that's been quoted quite a bit in the last couple of years. The number one word associated with a salesperson is pushy.
Mm,
Why? Because of everything you and I have talked about that we don't do anymore. It's that sales script. It is what you talked about with the process, teaching how to get urgency, how to get that sale faster, faster, faster. It's how they incentivize the salespeople. I, I, okay. I've never said this on a podcast before. It's not actually in the book, but Rob, you got it out of me.
let's go.
I am so frustrated with companies that incentivize their salespeople for new sales and not for length of relationship. Why is that?
Mm,
What? I
yeah.
mean, I don't know of one. If you do, please tell me. I will talk about them till the cows come home. I know no company that gives awards for length of relationship with a customer or a client. Yes, length of relationship with the company, the salesperson themselves. It
Yeah.
is so much harder to keep our relationship alive than it is to get a fresh new customer.
Right. Well, I'm glad you pulled that out of your war chest because I think that's a very strong point that you're making. And my first thought was, well, when I sold for New York Life, we got paid on renewals, but we got paid on renewals for 2 or 3 years. And then mysteriously, a lot of agents, after about 3 or 4 years, would find a better policy to get that commission, and sometimes we refer to that as twisting, and there's an issue there. I'll share something back to you, so we'll level this out on self disclosure. I'm actually not a big fan of sales contests. I was in
Right.
plenty of them, but when we start talking about, well, we're going to do what's right by the customer, and we're not going to manipulate the customer. We're going to when we think that the customer is missing something, is not looking down the road, doesn't really see the big picture. That's why we're here. We're going to help them. And we're going to lead them through our questions. But all that goes out the window a little bit when I'm 2 days from the end of a sales contest and I've got a bonus or a cruise on the line, and
Right.
I need to make 2 more sales, and Stacey appears on my screen. Am I, what is that contest going to do to my thinking? Will I be making the right decisions? So I know that upsets people too when we're sitting here going, but how do we incent salespeople? Well, you gave us one way. Why don't we give them a bonus or a cruise so they can keep that customer for 5 years or 10 years? So there's plenty of contests, but not on all new business. And that's coming pretty much from you. I'm just putting a cherry on the top of it.
I appreciate that. I truly, if we did that, then salespeople would feel that they could make a home at the company, that the turnover would go down. People would feel that they were being appreciated for appreciating other people, not just the money in the bank. And we know here's another psychological study. How
Right.
many studies have proven over and over again, Rob? People will do more for acknowledgement than they will for money.
Oh, yeah.
So again, a sales contest that's incentivizing a trip, money, whatever it is not going to produce the same kind of results as how about a lot of appreciation. I really appreciate you went out there 3 days in a row and gave it your best shot. I know you don't have sales going, you're building relationships. Those are going to produce sales soon. a company that builds a compensation plan based on that will reduce turnover, will have a happier crew. Customers will feel that because the salesperson, whoever they are, when they're interacting with them, I really think Zappos has I don't think they incentivize people for the number of sales, but the company style or culture was to make sure their salespeople or their customer service people who are their salespeople are happy, so that the happiness genuinely comes through the phone
Right.
to the customer.
Uh,
Yeah, there's so many ways that
Yeah.
do not
Yeah.
have to be the old ways.
Right. I when I talk to managers a lot, I'm sort of, one of my sticking points is I get so frustrated from corporate America that refuses to recognize the people that they don't have to just be salespeople, just recognizing people, applying recognition. And there is a number out there that says over 85% of people who terminate will terminate due to a lack of recognition. Well, you hit it when you said, Rob, it's not all about money. I will tell you, and I'll share it with you when when we finish our podcast today. I carry with me a list of 20 ways to recognize somebody that has nothing to do with money. So we can just, for once and for all, move that off the table. You've got numbers supporting it. There are dozens of ways to do this. Let's stop living in the past and thinking, I don't, I don't recognize people because, I don't have any more money in the budget. They don't want it. A nice letter in their file, that they want. Being invited to a meeting they don't normally get into, that they want. We got plenty of ways to recognize people. And you want to inspire somebody? Don't wait for the home run. You don't need a home run. Sometimes somebody's sitting at their desk and they get at that desk every day at 8 o'clock, every day. Okay, maybe they're not a superstar, but if you applied a recognition to that and if only you had done this, just leave it alone. Recognize that. A, do you think they're gonna be late tomorrow? B, you think they might be inspired to do more? Let's stop being Scrooge about this recognition nonsense and take care of people out there. And this is not just for salespeople; it's for everybody. Truly.
Anybody who's a leader
Yep.
who wants to develop leaders. I have a group coaching session this morning, and I brought this up. There was a Harvard Business Review study very recently. Do you know 35% of people who took the study, all leaders, managers, department heads, 35% say they never give positive reinforcement ever.
Clunk.
Ever.
It's the sound of Rob Jollis passing out. He's climbing off the floor now. Clunk.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
1/3 of all leaders, quote unquote leaders, because those aren't leaders.
Yeah, isn't that an oxymoron?
Yeah. Never give positive reinforcement. And you said something, I'm not criticizing, I'm just saying, why isn't the person who shows up every day on time not a superstar? Going back to what you said about the sales contest, we know there's a certain percentage of the population, you give them a challenge, they will go for it.
Yeah.
Most other people don't. So it's always the same people who are winning the sales contest. That in and of itself is demoralizing to the people who are not incentivized by that kind of a sales contest.
Right.
So I'm right here with you. We're preaching to the choir.
Yeah. Well, hopefully the choir is listening right now, folks. Tune up and listen carefully. This is really important. And like I said, there's just so many ways to do this. It's just a shame. Anyway, let's end with something positive here,
Okay.
and it is positive, by the way. I have to hit it one more time. My numbers that I'm going to make up are this. Notice I'm making my numbers up. I believe for every 10 people out there, one is a superstar. They got to practically have a star on their door. As Stacey just said, you can recognize them, but they're getting recognized all the time. Their numbers are good. Everything's good. What an amazing hire. One was a mistake. It happens. It just happens. And there's about 8 of that 10 that it could go either way. And when I said showing up on time, what I mean is we're waiting for them to hit a home run, to do something really big. Why we pay them to achieve these types of customer satisfaction numbers. sometimes they're never going to hit a home run. They're a singles hitter. They just aren't a home run hitter. We need to inspire them, and we need to stop and look out for them, because we can make those people great hitters, but we can't make them great hitters if we keep sitting around waiting for them to knock it out of the park. It's not in their DNA.
You said it perfectly. I just want to say ditto, ditto. And we need those hitters.
Yeah.
We need them. The company needs them. The customers love them. Those are the people that customers actually love. I mean, that's the truth of it.
Yeah.
The people who don't push, but are there for the long run, that are dependable, that you can count on. They're usually the honest ones, the ones who don't cut corners. Why would we not want to encourage them to be more of that?
Yep. Yeah. Ditto back to you. I got 10 more questions I could ask, but I've got to wrap it up. We're going to have you on again sometime, because this has been really fun. Where can people get a hold of you, Stacey?
Well, I'm everywhere.
She's everywhere.
I'm everywhere.
She's out in the Jollis bushes,
presence.
apparently. She's everywhere.
Everywhere. I'm on Instagram. You'll find me at Success with Stacey Hall, with little tidbits every day. On LinkedIn, which I think is where most of the audience is, I am Stacey Hall 1, because there's so many Stacey Halls. So if you're looking for me, you have to go Stacey Hall 1 and make sure the E is in the Stacey Hall 1, number 1. On Facebook, I'm also Stacey Hall 1. And of course, I have a website. It's staceyannhall.com. And then it's /home, about, book, whatever you want to put after that, /home to get to everything. Stacey Ann Hall. But just find me on LinkedIn, Stacey Hall 1. And you can find me by following Rob, because I'm a huge fan of Rob.
Well, that's awfully nice and quite unexpected. Thank you. And I want to remind people that Stacey with an E in there. So just to because I know there's a few ways to get Stacey out there. We're also going to have it on our site. And so we'll be fine there. One last thing, and I'm going to say it for Stacey because she's not going to say it, but that book came out in July. That book just hit Amazon about a month ago. I really hope people will go out there and get that book, and then, but not just get it. Then you're going to read that book, and then don't just read it. Then you're going to write a nice review on that book, and you do that, you're doing something. First of all, we talked about kindness. That's a nice thing to do for an author. But this is a great topic, great message, and I really hope that people go out there and, like I said, don't just get the book. Put a nice review on there. Believe me, we authors really appreciate it. Okay. That said, Stacey, thank you so much for being on the show. Great conversation. I'm grateful to have had this opportunity to knock it around with you a little bit.
Well, Rob, the gratitude is all mine to give. It's really an honor to sit in this seat with so many other experts, and you, who has really been one of my mentors from afar, and I thank you.
Well, I can assure you, Stacey, those words aren't lost to me, and I'm truly grateful. And folks, we'll do it again as well as we can next time. Until then, stay safe.
Thanks so much for listening. If you enjoyed today's show, please rate and recommend it on iTunes, Outcast, or wherever you get your podcasts. You can also get more information on this show and Rob at jollis.com.